on, I was really attracted to the mystery of something and kind of when I heard something that I hadn't heard before. So in my own writing, I think I'm kind of trying to capture that in some way so that each piece, you know, a lot of people would say that you can't do anything new, nothing, you know, everything's been done. But it's really important for me that each piece kind of is its own little universe. It has its own language, and it does sound essentially different than other pieces. As I write, that becomes harder and harder to not repeat myself. And I also, you know, I also enjoy diversity. You know, like when I was younger, I was often making little mixtapes that were pretty diverse, and so I kind of became used to that and like that a lot in the course of a record or a concert. You know, I like to go to kind of very different worlds, and maybe even inside one piece, I might even be doing that. It was normal for me to kind of go from Stevie Wonder to Aaron Copland, and that I enjoyed that, you know, and it was a little bit harder for me to listen to a whole Stevie Wonder record, but to go from one to the other and then maybe a little jazz in there, I was always attracted to that diversity. I think some of that comes from the drummer part of it, that when I started writing music, I realized if I didn't play clearly that I couldn't hear my own music, and no one else could either. So I think that kind of clarity is something that I'm kind of always searching for, like how to make each voice clear and transparent. And when I work with people that are improvising, I find myself repeating the same phrases, which are usually, you know, kind of look for your own little place in the sonic universe, and you can do whatever you want there, and someone else will be over here, and so the music can be pretty dense as long as people aren't all in the same area. I have a bunch of ongoing lists that I make about the process. So how could I potentially start a piece, and then how could I work on a piece, and what tools will I use to work on this piece. And usually it just happens naturally, but I think making the list and thinking about it ahead of time lets me have a slightly different process than I've used in the past, which hopefully again gives the piece its own little sound. So the process, I think, is what makes each piece different. If you use the same process, so a lot of people, for instance, start on the piano, and especially if you're not a piano, if you don't have piano chops, then you will gravitate towards certain harmonies, and your fingers kind of do the walking and thinking for you a little bit. So with me, if I wrote just on the piano, things would start getting into a similar zone. So I might go to the piano at some point if a piano is available to me, but I try to be careful about that and not repeat the same process, at least in the as far as I can remember. I try not to repeat the same process. For me, it's always been about something that I can't define yet, that I just listen to it and I think, I don't know what that is. That's so interesting. So for me, that's jazz. But I think for me, the real innovators in jazz were people that didn't think about that at all. And later on, people, you know, named the music that they made, but they never really were concerned with the naming of it. And so I'm always one of I guess probably the hardest question to answer is, you know, when I just meet someone and they say, "Oh, you're a drummer, what kind of music do you play?" And there's always like a huge silence there, and they just think, "What's wrong? I just asked a very simple question. Why can't you answer that?" And it's a hard question for me to answer, you know. It's hard to talk about it because it's just normal. It's just what I don't think about it. It's just this is what comes out, and then later on, you know, people want to know, well, what is it? And that's when I have to think, oh, I'm not sure what it is, but this is it.